Texas Tech is the best team in college football, which is further proof the Big 12 deserves two teams in the playoff. This is Locked On Big 12.
You are Locked On Big 12, your daily podcast on the Big 12 Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Sunday, everybody. Welcome into Locked On Big 12. I'm Drake Toll from America's #1 Big 12 podcast, Locked On Big 12. Thank you for making this show your first listen every single day. Congratulations, the Texas Tech Red Raiders for the first time Big 12 champions after blowing out BYU in Arlington. But that's not where I open today's show. It is my responsibility. It is my personal inclination that as someone who loves the Big 12, a conference that is underappreciated, undervalued by college football, that it is my responsibility to further tell you why this league still deserves another college football playoff team and how there are objective metrics that show you cannot argue that. That's where I'll start. BYU deserves to be in the college football playoff. Heck, Utah should get a closer nod than some of these teams that are trying to knock down the door. We'll start there and then lend me your ears for 8 minutes. I can convince you Texas Tech will win the national championship. I think it's going to happen. Like I've gone from, they're really, really good. They're going to win a couple games to, if you just follow with me, this team is possibly infallible. And then I'll send you the instant reaction I had yesterday from Texas Tech beating BYU 34-7, absolute waxing. If you hit subscribe, I get to keep my job. BYU should still be a college football playoff team. If their only losses are to the number 4 team in the country twice, who's to say BYU is not the 5th best team in all of college football? And you say that's the stupidest thing in the world. They got blown out, but the 2015 Rose Bowl, Oregon 59, Florida State 20. Or 2019, the national championship, Alabama 44, Clemson 16. The 2021 national championship, Alabama 52, Ohio State 24. We're talking about Clemson and Ohio State, teams that won games in the college football playoff. They were both the number 2 team in the country. They were just that much worse than the team sitting at number 1 because that's how good Alabama was, and that's how good Texas Tech is. You wouldn't have held out Clemson or Ohio State from a 4-team playoff, much less a 12-team. So why should BYU be held out when the only thing they've done is be blown out by maybe the best team in all of college football? Same as Clemson in 2019. Same as Ohio State in 2021. Same as a Notre Dame in 2018 or a Michigan in 2021. The 2015 national championship game, Ohio State 42, Oregon 20. It didn't mean that those teams were not playoff caliber or playoff worthy. It just meant the squads they were going up against were that good. So if your argument is that the reason the playoff exists is to get multiple teams an opportunity to play for a national championship or win a national championship, then the teams who have won their games, like BYU, should be there. What you may not realize about this game against Texas Tech is that with 4 minutes to go in the third quarter, 4 minutes to go in the third quarter, the score was 13-7. This isn't like one of those Indiana shellackings that they give people this season. This isn't some wild slaughter that from the jump BYU was down 21-0, which is what Texas Tech does to most teams that they play. This was a ball game past the middle of the third quarter. And if you can hang for 37 minutes, 40 minutes, with possibly the number 1 team in college football. And the only thing that happens, you unravel. Obviously, the BYU offense was not great. Obviously, Bear Bachmeier was not ready to beat Texas Tech. And if they played a third time, Tech would win by 20 points again. I can almost guarantee you that. But again, I don't think that those ideas should keep you out of the playoff. You went toe-to-toe with Tech for a long time. For a long time. Turnovers, throw you out of whack, everything falls apart. BYU loses in a blowout. But here's what BYU also did. Landed themselves a better strength of schedule than Notre Dame. Landed themselves a better strength of record than Notre Dame. Won more games than Oklahoma. More games than Miami. played more top-tier opponents, played more bowl opponents, beat more bowl opponents, beat more opponents on the road, beat more bowl opponents on the road than Texas A&M. You could argue, who hasn't beaten anybody, by the way. You could argue genuinely that BYU has a better resume than A&M. A majority, listen to this, a majority of Texas A&M's wins in the SEC came against teams that fired their coach. That is stunning. Of BYU's wins, 0 were against teams that fired their coach. BYU has a road win against a top 20 Arizona team with the best quarterback in the Big 12 and Noah Fafita. BYU has a win where they were up 10 with 2 minutes to go against Utah, a Utah team that has blown out most of the opponents they played and looked so solid for a large portion of this year. There have been those years, like remember that Alabama LSU national championship, the BCS era that was like 19-6 or whatever it was, it's a putrid game. That Alabama team blew through everybody. They were beating the socks off of top 10 teams. They're just one after the other after the other. It's maybe like LSU in 2019, right? Some of these great teams in college football history. We didn't dilute the rest of the SEC because one team was elite, because one team was really good. We are diluting the Big 12 because one team is really good. What? You're telling me that Texas Tech's the only team that can be good here. And yet they blew out. They blew out, no doubt, Utah. They blew out BYU, absolutely. I can't disagree with that. But I go back to 2019 LSU. And I point at them and I say, look, this doesn't mean the conference is bad, but they are beating the socks off of teams because they're that good. It doesn't mean that a school like Alabama or Georgia doesn't deserve to go to the postseason, doesn't deserve to be in the playoff. And this year, BYU's resume, you blind test their resume. They deserve a shot at a national championship. Their defense is that good. Heck, their defense did a lot of good things against Texas Tech today. Man, Baron Morton almost, and I say almost, he almost threw 2 pick sixes yesterday in the game. There was the weird backward pass could have been backward, right? Like there were opportunities for BYU to make this a ball game. They didn't take advantage of those. I'm not arguing Texas Tech's worse than BYU at all. I'm saying Texas Tech's 3 touchdowns better than BYU. But so was Alabama against Clemson. So was Alabama against Ohio State. So was Oregon. Make it Ohio State over Oregon. And it didn't mean that those teams weren't deserving of a college football playoff spot. Let BYU in. Give Utah more love. Heck, Arizona's got a better resume than some of these teams. Infuriating. Texas Tech's a national championship caliber team. This is Locked On Big 12. I can prove it. Hey, Kimasabi. Today's show is brought to you by Game Time. Game Time is exactly where I go when I'm looking for World Cup tickets. Croatia and England are playing in Dallas. Dallas is easy to get to, by the way. Dallas is very easy to get to. 48 teams competing for the first time ever. It's going to be massive. And it's in America, the States. Getting tickets is usually the hardest part, but the Game Time app comes in clutch. Pull up the app. The layout makes it so simple to scroll through matchups, compare seat views as well. Pick a game, tap a section, have your tickets locked within minutes. No confusion, no hunting for fine print. Take the guesswork out of buying World Cup tickets and every match, every concert, every event with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, download the app, make an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Game Time. Visit Game Time. Do it today. Texas Tech is a national championship caliber team. We need to start wrapping our mind around the Texas Tech Red Raiders in 2025 actually competing for a national championship. When things kick off in that final game, who's to say that Tech won't be there? Like when I was watching the conference championship games yesterday, I did not see a defense. I did not see a roster at that caliber. Well, the SEC look good. Well, yeah, when they're playing each other, sure does look good, right? I've seen plenty of SEC teams losing bowl games to the Big 12. I watched South Carolina get boat raced by Clemson. Like I've seen plenty of SEC teams. They're like, oh, wow, well, these 2 D-lines are really big and really strong. And then you realize, like, Baylor has a bigger defensive line than Auburn on paper. We love to wax poetic about the SEC. But I watched those games yesterday, and I didn't see a Ben Roberts. I didn't see a David Bailey. I didn't see Romello Height. I did not see a Jacob Rodriguez. And Jacob Rodriguez, by and large, wasn't a catalyst for Texas Tech winning the game the way they did. Ben Roberts was much more involved in the turnover categories. A couple of interceptions. He was the best wide receiver for BYU. That's Ben Roberts. He plays linebacker for Texas Tech. That was a game where I watched Tech. And once again, as someone who watches every game in the Big 12, walked away and said, chalk it up. See ya. I mean, the SEC loves these hypotheticals. We could just end the season right now and give Texas Tech the national championship, because if we're playing the hypotheticals game, hypothetically, they are the best team in college football. And I think we're going to get to the end of the year here in a few weeks, and you're going to say, oh, it wasn't hypothetical, it was real. I don't understand how Jacob Rodriguez is not getting Heisman love. I don't understand how you turn on ESPN and they only want to talk about, is it Miami? Is it Notre Dame? Is it this? Is it that? And no one wants to. It feels like Tech is the kid with cancer. This is great. Poor Texas Tech. They've got cancer. So when we talk about them, we pull it up. Reese Davis, let's get him in here. Come on. Wheel the kid in. Man, what a cool story it is for you, huh? To be the kid with cancer. That's what they've made Texas Tech into. This sideshow of every now and then you get a quip from McAfee or somebody going, I like Texas Tech. They're good. Wow, you could give it a little bit more analysis or love or something. No. It's so funny to me. Do you ever, man, I'm really on a rant now. I thought yesterday the production for ESPN was terrible. I mean, they missed the play 5 or 6 times. They didn't cut the cameras in time to see the play. The announcers didn't know what they kept calling it the masked raider. It's the masked rider. Do any amount of research before you say things 7 times, Joe Tessitore. I thought both announcers just really didn't like the Big 12. And they continued to tell, well, we do a lot of SEC games. We do a lot of SEC. We see the best teams in the country, like Georgia. This Texas Tech team's decent. Stop. I turn on College Game Day, man. And they go to Desmond Howard, and he's not even hiding it. He's not even faking it. I don't believe he watches just as much football as the College Football Playoff Committee. And I don't know if it's a lot. Because they go to Desmond and they say, Miami, Ohio versus Western Michigan, who's going to win? And Des goes, man, I don't know. This one's a toss-up for me. What? You couldn't name one player. You couldn't name the records. You haven't watched any Miami, Ohio. You haven't watched Western Michigan. Why is it a toss-up? Why? You couldn't give me a reason why. You just want to say, this would be a good one. I don't know. And there's this just lovable Texas Tech. They're about to find out. And they always point to, the reason Texas Tech's doing all this is the money. They're not even top 10 in NIL. Well, it's the money. Their head coach is only making $7 million per year. Well, it's the money. Every team at the top of the SEC is paying millions more than Texas Tech, yet they still got the number 1 transfer portal class. Yet they've flipped everything with not money, but culture. And yeah, the cash is there, but culture is the more important C word. That's what Texas Tech has done. But when you click your remote, look how sweet. The producer's telling us in our ears we got to talk about Texas Tech. You guys like them? Yeah. Who do you like? Jacob Rodriguez. All right, who else? Baron Morton. Baron Morton, can I say something? And Texas Tech fans, please don't be mad. I'm objective. I didn't go to Tech. I'm not a Tech fan, right? I'm a fan of the Big 12, so I'm a fan of Texas Tech in that way. I'm not like a diehard Red Raider. I have my hat right here, though. I love talking about Texas Tech, but I didn't grow up in a Tech household. Okay, Baron Morton is not even a top 8 reason. Actually, there are 11 players on defense. He's not a top 11 reason Texas Tech is as good as they are. He is, of the starting lineup, probably 16th, 17th, 18th best guy. But there's something about this, national attention, national media being, well, it's all Baron Morton and all the, we don't watch the games at the top level. We don't. And it's infuriating to see a Texas Tech team that will win the national championship. I put a future on week 2 or 3, I think, after Tech's win, like 20 to win $1,000 on Tech to win a national championship at FanDuel. 20 to win 1,000. Dog, that looks great today. I put a preseason prop on them to make the college football playoff. Guess what? They did that, I'm excited for the day, and I love being able to be one of the many mouthpieces of the Big 12. Try to talk people into understanding, respecting the Big 12. But man, y'all about to find out. You're about to see what Texas Tech can do. And the College Football Playoff Committee is going to see that, dang, they should be the number 1 team in the country. I really do wish Tech was getting a first-round home game. I hate the bye. The bye didn't work for anybody last year, right? I think all 4 teams in the bye ended up losing. That would, oof. There's too much rest. If that's the reason Tech loses, oof. Would have loved the home playoff game against Tulane. Could still get it, I guess, when they release the playoff. I almost hope the committee's so bad that's what they end up doing is giving Tech a home game. That'd be great. Coming up, here's what it sounded like. My instant reaction to Texas Tech beating BYU 34-7, blowout city. Locked on Big 12. Spider 2Y banana. Omaha steaks. Holidays come with 2 big goals: feeding the people that we love well and finding gifts they'll actually love. And when you want to do both, Omaha Steaks is the way to go. Right now, Sizzle All the Way sale. Stock up, save in a huge way. 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com. And it gets even better. Locked On College listeners get an extra $35 off with the code COLLEGE, all caps, COLLEGE, at checkout. I've seen Omaha Steaks as gifts before. I've gotten them as gifts before. And I typically think that's the best gift ever. They have sides, too. You want some good potatoes? I got good potatoes. Comfort meals, desserts even. Build a box for anybody. Holiday magic made easy. Order by 6 p.m. Eastern time, and it ships the same day. Save big on gourmet gifts and more holiday favorites at Omaha Steaks. Visit omahasteaks.com for 50% off site-wide during their Sizzle All the Way sale. And for an extra $35 off, use promo code COLLEGE at checkout. Terms apply. See site for details. omahasteaks.com. Code COLLEGE. Omaha Steaks. Best Casey Cowan impression with the red tie and the suit on today. Someone scheduled a wedding on December 6th. Insanity. But this game was not insanity. It was Texas Tech doing what Texas Tech has done all season. That's dominate their opponents. BYU 7 points. Texas Tech 34 points. The amount of turnovers that the Red Raiders forced, a couple of interceptions from Bear Bachmeier, a couple of fumbles as well. And the only time Texas Tech had a blemish, their only fumble, ended up helping them gain 20 more yards on a run. It was that kind of day for the Red Raiders. This is the most dominant team we've seen in the Big 12, speaking on Texas Tech, in a long time. Their only loss came with their starting quarterback injured, trying to figure out how to work without Baron Morton. And by the way, Baron Morton isn't exactly the catalyst that makes Texas Tech as good as they are. Jacoby Williams, Cameron Dickey, that 2-headed monster running back is incredible. And yeah, Morton, 1 of every 3 passes from Baron Morton, I wonder why in the world is Baron Morton doing what he's doing? But there's also 1 in those 3 that is a dot, a perfect dime piece that makes him one of the most dangerous quarterbacks in the country. And this Texas Tech team proved again in front of America on ABC that they are the best team in the Big 12. They deserve a bye in the college football playoff. They don't need a home game in Lubbock. They have all of the tools to win a national championship. If you are a Texas Tech fan, this is the moment where you pinch yourself. You went from decades, years, your entire existence really in college football of middling through the sport and just being the team that's forgotten and left behind. And even when there's elite talent like Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback, you struggle to win more than 6-7 games. This is the perennial 8-4 football team. This is past what you saw in the Mike Leach era. This is different than what you saw in the best of the Mike Leach era. This is different than what you've seen in the best years of your program. This is long-term sustainability because of money, Infrastructure, talked a lot about James Blanchard and what he does on the recruiting side. Coaching, Joey McGuire, a Texas guy who does things in a gritty, first one in, last one to leave, old school way. And more than anything, Texas Tech is now in a conference where they can dominate. A position in the Big 12 where they can be the team. They can be the next Oklahoma and win 8 of 10 Big 12 championships. This was the beginning of that. Not remotely close to the culmination. It was the beginning. Like, there are Texas Tech fans saying we should leave for the SEC. That's how good you are. You held BYU to 14 first downs, 200 yards of total offense. BYU couldn't throw the ball. BYU certainly couldn't run the ball. 30 carries, 63 yards, total domination. Now, 34-7 was not completely indicative of how BYU played for 34 minutes of this game. It's not completely indicative of how the game went. It was 13-7, I should say. And it felt like BYU could win the game still. Texas Tech was not, didn't have the foot on the throat. And when it was 13-7, it didn't become 21-7 until 3:21 left in the third quarter. So BYU is still squarely in this game with 4 minutes to go in the third quarter. That is not me making an excuse for BYU or diluting Texas Tech. It is telling you BYU for 35 plus minutes went toe-to-toe, tit for tat with the best team maybe in college football. There is a reason BYU should still be a college football playoff team. If you're telling me that the Cougars just lost to the number 4 team in the country, there's still a great chance BYU's a top 10 caliber team. A great chance they're the number 5 team in the country. And you say, Drake, that's the stupidest take I've ever heard. Their only 2 losses are to the number 4 team. That makes you think of the number 5 team in America? Listen to this. 2015 Rose Bowl, Oregon 59, Florida State 20. That's a college football playoff game. 2015 Cotton Bowl, Alabama 38, Michigan State 0. 2019 Peach Bowl, LSU 63, Oklahoma 28. Fiesta Bowl 2016, Clemson 31, Ohio State 0. How about the national championship in 2019? Alabama 44, Clemson 16. You could tell me that Clemson team was the second best team in college football, and they were still a large gap behind number 1 Alabama. 2021 national championship, Alabama 52, Ohio State 24. So, did Ohio State not deserve to go to the college football playoff? They won a game in the playoff in 2021. Did Clemson not deserve to go to the college football playoff in 2019? They won a game in the playoff in 2019. They got blown out in the national championship game because some teams are just built different. Texas Tech is built different. But it does not mean that BYU shouldn't have a chance at the college football playoff. Had the Cougars, listen to this. This is the way the committee looks at these games. Had the Cougars in the regular season, because these conferences are far too big and you can't play everybody, had they played, let's say, Oklahoma State instead of Texas Tech. Okay? If they play Oklahoma State instead of Texas Tech, they win that game by 30 points. And you think, okay, well, now they're 12-0. Probably number 3 in the country. And a loss to Texas Tech, even in this fashion, they'd move down, no doubt, but they wouldn't move out of the top 12. And their strength of record is still better than Notre Dame. It's still better than Alabama. They still have more wins than Notre Dame, still have more wins than Alabama. There's an easy case for BYU to still be a college football playoff team. If you say, well, they just played their playoff game. I point again in the 4-team format to the teams that lost by 1 million points. They still deserve to be in the postseason. They still deserve a shot at a national championship. Or just go back to the BCS era where you put 2 teams in and you allow 2 teams only to compete for a national title. Do it that way. But don't build this. Don't build a system where you are faulted for winning. And when you lose, but your name is Notre Dame, it's considered a good loss, and it shouldn't count against you. But when you lose and your name is BYU, and it's the number 4 team in the country twice in 2 settings in the state of Texas, one of them a true road game, the other 70-30, the stadium packed with Texas Tech fans. When that is the case, dog, I'm just not buying that you can leave this BYU team out still. I'm not buying it. Texas Tech, dominant. They are the future of the Big 12. Cody Campbell's the future of the Big 12. Joey McGuire's the future of the Big 12. This was a statement. This season has been a statement for Texas Tech, and now we will get you ready for the college football playoff, where I think you will win multiple games. I wish there was a home game in Lubbock, because I think the teams that had byes last year went 0-4. Throw up in my mouth. I wish that we had bye games. I wish that the other teams had bye games, I should say, and that Texas Tech could host a playoff game. They deserve it. That Lubbock deserves it. You know, and maybe the committee is stupid enough. They are stupid enough, by the way. Maybe they're stupid enough to bump Texas Tech out of the top 4 after this. Why? You're like, oh, that would never happen. They are the committee. And if we've known them to do anything, it's do stupid stuff. Texas Tech, congratulations. BYU, you should still get in. We'll cover it all this week on Locked On. Thanks for making it your first listen every single day. Dose Grande.